Hi, this is Ballenger, and I wanted to add a little bit of a practice session in case you've been in one of the seminars or workshops lately. We've been focusing a lot on how we use our hips and trunk with the muscles and the bones and even the connective tissue to get a more firm press into the ground. And what that results in is more energy or force moving upwards through the body. In Amsar Yoga, I relate this to rooting, and if it's done well, we get a return of energy or a return of momentum that helps with rising. An even better idea to look at extension is what we call axial extension, where the spinal column is extended mostly from the root of it up through the column and directly up. To be even more specific about axial extension, from just about the bottom of the lumbar spine and the sacrum, there's also an extension downward. And when thoroughly applied and supported, the spine not only extends down, but upwards as well. This is one of the major ways that we can work with and even against gravity, as it forces our body over time to become fatigued and to collapse narrow and down and more rounded. With no further ado, we're going to get down and practice a little bit. In this lunge on the front leg, I want to move my body mass more over my front heel and ankle. The knee being directly over the arch or in the front of the heel is a really important place for it to set. Mechanically, the trunk works very well when this shin is more vertical. The hip muscles back here, primarily the glute package, their big action, if you're mobile, is to take the thigh and push it that way. If you're up and running, it would take the thigh not only that way, but start to move the femur back. So there is an amount of pressure that we can push using the glutes to press down on the thigh bone. And if the shin is directly under the end portion of the femur or the thigh bone, it will help extend pressure down the shin through the heel, even more specifically, slightly to the front of the heel. So I would start in a regular lunge and a little bit of an arch into the low back. So in Anusara, we talk about broadening the inner thighs or moving the femur bones back. This puts a little bit of an arch. If you followed any of the segments from the classroom work that are on some of these YouTube clips, we've talked about position and posture and muscle activation and muscle chains. This is all totally related to that. So with an arch in the back, you can usually access the glutes with more ease. I'm going to switch legs here. So again, shin directly over the front of the heel, or the calcaneus, the top of the knee, again, directly over that, and a little bit of an arch. I would start with your body weight not directly over your back knee, but a little bit of length and move your body mass forward. Try to squeeze the glute, just isometrically tone it. Pinch it, squeeze it, whatever you can do. And then see if you can create this force where you squeeze the glute and you press the heel down with that mechanism. If you hold this for a few moments and you're successful at it, your glute muscles, your butt muscles, should actually get fatigued and feel a little bit of that lactic acid burn. And you can even get even more sensitive to it when you learn how to activate these muscles and even do a little bit of movement at the sit bone. This side was done earlier today, so I don't need to activate it anymore. So I'm going to switch sides again. And let's work this again. So bring your first foot to the front, plant your hands on your front thigh. Do create your arch in your low back. And this could be either inner spiral or rooting the femurs back, but create your arch. Then activate and root. Come upright, inner body bright and your side body's long, supported by your trunk work, and extend up. The inner body bright and the side body's long without appropriate trunk work is probably just back arching. Please don't make that mistake. Either go through your short vinyasa or plant your hands and come into downward facing dog pose. The vinyasa is typically chaturanga, cobra pose or upwards facing dog, and downward facing dog. Second side. Work your second foot to the front. Bring your hands on your front knee. Put in a little bit of your body weight here and trying to lift up and broaden the T of the breastplate and collarbones usually helps and makes it easier to do inner spiral or thigh bones back for that low lumbar arch. The low lumbar curve makes it easier to activate the glute. So tone, come more upright. See if you can use the glute to actually press more and get a little more lift. This should make it even easier to tone the low belly. Side body's long, expand. Inner body bright and extend. The arms should be an extension of the spine. If your spine is simply doing a collapse back as your form of inner body bright or side body's long, you need to change it. Reach up. And again, either your short sequence, chaturanga, up dog, down dog, or meet me in downward facing dog pose. Stretch back. From downward facing dog pose, swing your first foot to the front, and inhale, root, rise, stretch up. On your exhale, plant your hands, either down dog or chaturanga. Second side. Root, rise. This point is when your inhale should be the most emphatic. You might even hold off on the low inhale. If this works well, it should feel like fire engine sirens in your glutes for a little while. Rise up, reach. If you have good hip activation, good rooting so that this is more prominently rising, maybe lunge lower. But if your lower lunge collapses your back, don't go that low. Either your chaturanga sequence or downward facing dog pose. If you do have some other session clips, please feel free to combine this with other session clips and create a wonderful exercise and activation portion to get your body mass and prana, as we experience it as energy in the form of matter, our body mass, our body matter. And see if you can get a greater push down and rise up. Support your inner body bright, your side bodies long, your openness to grace with your foundation, your mechanics, your alignment, your tapas, your heart, and your dedication. I hope you've enjoyed this clip, and please, by all means, if you're finding a hip that doesn't engage as much or glutes that seem not to flex when you ask them, they're not disobeying you, they've just been out of practice, try, finagle, and encourage them to start to activate so prana can start flowing through those body parts as well. Have a wonderful session on your yoga mat, and I hope to see you soon.